In this video, we look at transmitters and receivers, which we use together to transmit audio wirelessly. Like all wireless technology, these get more advanced all the time, and wireless manufacturers are putting more and more amazing features into each new generation of wireless products. First, we see how transmitters and receivers communicate with a radio wave. Then, we discuss dropouts, which are interruptions in the audio signal, and we see how wireless systems can be used for either mics or IEMs. Every wireless system has two essential components, a transmitter and a receiver, each of which has an antenna. The transmitter uses the antenna to transmit a radio wave at a specific frequency, which is picked up by the receiver. Then the wave is modulated in a way that corresponds with an audio signal, and the receiver interprets that modulation and turns it back into an audio signal. Ultimately, what we're trying to do with any wireless system is to keep the transmitter and receiver communicating at all times. If the signal gets interrupted because there isn't a clean line of sight for the antenna, or if there's competing information on the frequency we're using, then we can get dropouts, which are interruptions in the audio signal. This is really what we're trying to avoid. With a wireless mic system, in a typical live music scenario, the transmitter is on stage, either built into the mic or in a belt pack, which can be used to take a direct input from an instrument. But either way, we typically put the receiver right by the inputs to the console so we can easily connect the audio signal. But we also run this in the opposite direction, most notably when using wireless in-ear monitors, or IEMs. In this situation, we are taking the outputs of the console and sending it to stage. So the transmitter lives by the console, and the receiver is in the belt pack worn by a performer. Using wireless IEMs is the way many professional touring musicians hear themselves in modern large-scale productions, and we take a closer look at these later in this course, but this is really where we start to run up wireless channel counts, especially when multiple performers each need their own stereo mix. And if we're in a crowded wireless environment like at a music festival, we probably need some more advanced tools, like a laptop running measurement software, which we also take a brief look at later. So throughout this course, we will be looking at this Sennheiser Digital 6000 system. We also look at the Sennheiser G4 IEM system, which is a stereo analog system. All right, so I'm just gonna put one of my in-ears in here and talk to this mic and just talk through the signal chain of this little setup. If the mic picks up my voice, it transmits it as a radio signal via this antenna in the end of the body here. And this is picked up by the receiver, and once the receiver has the signal, it converts it back into an audio signal, which is sent as a mic level analog signal to the console. Now we send it mic level because the XLR inputs of the console are usually expecting mic level signal. Now the engineer will then add gain and EQ or whatever else they need to do to make it sound good. Then the signal is sent out of the console. I'm using a stereo aux output out of outputs 5 and 6 on the back of this SQ6. Remember, we have two cables, it's two channels since it's stereo. Then the IEM system embeds that stereo signal into a single carrier wave, which is picked up by the belt pack and turned back into a stereo audio signal, which feeds the in-ears. So you can see we need two clean frequencies to make this work. And we're going to have problems if any of the audio is experiencing dropouts. So in the next section, and really throughout the course, we take a look at best practices to help the transmitters and receivers stay connected, free of interference. In this video, we looked at transmitters and receivers, which communicate with a radio wave. We saw how dropouts are interruptions in the audio signal, and how wireless systems can be used for both mics and IEMs.